April 25th, 2026. No pilot walked to this aircraft. No one strapped in. No one ran a pre-flight checklist from the cockpit. A ground controller sitting at a desk pressed a button, and a $30 million drone taxied itself to the runway, lined itself up, applied thrust, and flew away. 2 hours later, it came back, landed itself, taxied itself back to the hangar. The United States Navy's first operational carrier-based unmanned aircraft had just flown for the first time, and buried in the press release, almost as a footnote, was a detail that should have made every military analyst in the world stop what they were doing. This aircraft is going to land on an aircraft carrier, autonomously, in the middle of the ocean, on a moving deck, in salt air. While fighter jets are launching and landing around it. If you understand what that means, you understand why this is one of the most significant things that has happened in naval aviation in 50 years. Let's start with what this aircraft actually is, because the name tanker drone undersells it dramatically. The MQ-25 was originally conceived as a long-range surveillance and strike aircraft under the Navy's U-class program, Unmanned Carrier Launched Airborne. Surveillance and strike. In 2016, the mission was narrowed to aerial refueling, not because the Navy didn't want a combat drone, but because the tanker problem was immediate and the carrier air wing was being strangled by it. Here is the specific problem. 20 to 30% of the Navy's Super Hornets on any given deployment are pulled out of combat rotation to fly tanker missions, delivering fuel to other aircraft, not striking targets, not providing air cover, hauling fuel. A Super Hornet costs roughly $67 million to build and $42,000 per flight hour to operate. The United States Navy was burning its most capable carrier fighter as a flying gas truck. Every Super Hornet flying a tanker mission is a Super Hornet not flying a combat mission. Multiply that across every carrier strike group the Navy has deployed over the last 20 years, and the cost in lost combat capacity is staggering. The MQ-25 was built to end that. Now let's talk about what this solution actually costs. The Navy awarded Boeing the development contract in August 2018, $805 million for 4 engineering development aircraft. Each production aircraft carries a flyaway cost of $181.6 million. The total program, 76 aircraft, testing, ground control stations, carrier integration, is projected to reach $13 billion. That sounds like an enormous number. And it is. But here is the comparison that puts it in context. The Navy currently operates roughly 500 Super Hornets. Each one costs $67 million to build and $42,000 every single hour it flies. When 20 to 30% of those aircraft are flying tanker missions instead of combat missions, the cost of that lost combat capacity across decades of deployments dwarfs what the Stingray program costs. You are not paying $13 billion for a tanker drone. You are paying $13 billion to give every Super Hornet on every carrier its combat role back. Now the engineering. Because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The operational aircraft has a completely new structural layout compared to the T-1 prototype. Mission bays. An integrated electro-optical infrared turret for intelligence. Surveillance and reconnaissance, folding wings for carrier deck storage, carrier-hardened gear for catapult launches and arrested landings, satellite communications, and naval. Grade corrosion protection for long-term salt spray exposure. The folding wings detail is worth pausing on. Space on a carrier flight deck is extraordinarily precious. Every aircraft aboard a carrier has folding wings designed to shrink the footprint when parked. Once deployed on a carrier, the Stingray will be one of the largest aircraft on the flight deck, with a wingspan that rivals the Northrop Grumman E-2D Hawkeye. Without folding wings, it could not operate from a carrier at all. The engineering required to build folding wing mechanisms that survive catapult launches and arrested landings repeatedly in salt air, at sea, is not trivial. The engine is a Rolls-Royce AE3007N turbofan, the same engine family that powers Embraer regional jets, adapted for military carrier use and produced in Indianapolis, Indiana. The refueling system is the Cobham Aerial Refueling Store, a probe and drogue system where the drone extends a flexible hose with a basket at the end, and the receiving aircraft's probe inserts into that basket at hundreds of miles per hour, thousands of feet above the ocean. The requirement is to offload at least 14,000 pounds of fuel up to 500 nautical miles from the carrier. The autonomous flight system deserves particular attention. Air vehicle pilots create flight routes and establish waypoints from the ground control station. Once the command is given, the Stingray's onboard autonomy manages all systems including propulsion, guidance, and flight control. The pilots monitor performance and can abort or change the mission at any point, but the aircraft executes the mission itself. The ground control station, called the MD-5, uses Lockheed Martin's MDCX software platform. It is designed as open architecture, meaning it can be upgraded as technology evolves, and critically, it is designed to eventually control not just the Stingray, but future unmanned carrier aircraft that have not been built yet. The Navy is not just building a drone, it is building the command infrastructure for an entirely new type of carrier air wing. The technology shaping the next 30 years of naval warfare, covered here before anyone else. Elevon. Subscribe now. Here is the part of this story that almost nobody is covering. What landing on a carrier actually demands of this aircraft. Carrier landings are considered the most difficult thing a military pilot does. The approach corridor is narrow. The carrier deck is roughly 300 feet long and moving, pitching and rolling in ocean swells. The aircraft hits the deck at roughly 150 miles per hour and must catch one of 4 arresting wires stretched across the deck. If it misses all 4, called a bolter, it must immediately go to full power and go around for another attempt. The entire sequence from crossing the ship's stern to stopping takes roughly 2 seconds. Human pilots train for months before their first carrier landing. They describe it as controlled violence. The deceleration from catching a wire is so severe it is comparable to a minor car crash. Every time. The Stingray has to do this autonomously, without a human in the cockpit to feel the aircraft, to make micro-corrections based on instinct, to react to a gust of wind or a wave that changes the deck angle in the last half-second of approach. This is not a solved problem in aviation. The X-47B proved in 2013 that unmanned carrier landings were possible in controlled test conditions. The Stingray has to make this routine repeatable, reliable enough for fleet operations. The sensors, the algorithms, the communication between the aircraft and the carrier's landing systems, all of it has to work perfectly every time. In fog, in high seas, at night, in potential electronic warfare environments where the GPS signal might be degraded or jammed. Boeing's program leaders called it the most complex autonomous system ever developed for the carrier environment. That is not marketing language. That is an accurate description of what carrier autonomous operations actually require. Now, the future that this aircraft unlocks. Navy leaders have called the Stingray the entry point for unmanned aviation on the aircraft carrier. one that could lead to collaborative combat aircraft providing adjunct, magazines to fighter aircraft, forward surveillance, aerial relay sensing, and eventually strike missions directed by a human in a manned jet. Think about what that evolution looks like in practice. Today, a carrier launches manned fighters. Each fighter carries its own weapons. Each pilot makes targeting decisions. The ratio of humans to aircraft is 1-to-1. The future the Navy is building toward, 60% of the carrier air wing unmanned by 2040, looks completely different. A manned F-35 Charlie launches with 4 autonomous wingmen, collaborative combat aircraft carrying additional weapons, sensors, and electronic warfare systems. The pilot directs the formation. The drones absorb the highest threat portions of the mission. If a drone is destroyed, a machine is lost, not a person. The Stingray refuels the entire formation, manned and unmanned, extending the range of every aircraft. The carrier operates from beyond the reach of Chinese carrier-killer missiles, while its air wing reaches targets that were previously inaccessible. The ratio of combat capability to human risk shifts dramatically in America's favor. China and France are both developing carrier-based unmanned aircraft. The competition for this capability is real and ongoing. America just put its first production aircraft in the air. One more thing worth saying honestly. The Stingray's initial operational capability has been pushed to 2020, 3 years later than originally planned. Boeing's manufacturing challenges contributed to the delay. Production ramp is 3 aircraft per year initially, not fast. The program has been in development since 2018 for an aircraft the Navy originally wanted operational in the early 2020s. The Pentagon's own watchdog warned that making critical production decisions without completing developmental and operational testing increases risk that the program will not meet operational capability requirements. These concerns are legitimate. Boeing's recent track record on complex military programs, from the KC-46 tanker to the MH-139 Grey Wolf, gives reasonable people reason to watch this program carefully. But the aircraft flew. The technology works. The concept has been proven from first principles up. And the Navy's need for this capability, given China's anti-ship missile development, given the Pacific strategic environment, given the carrier air wing's tanker problem, has not diminished. It has grown more urgent every year. April 25, 2026 will be remembered, not because a drone flew over Illinois for 2 hours, but because it was the day the United States Navy demonstrated it was serious, operationally serious, production aircraft serious about what carrier aviation becomes next. The pilots of the future may not all sit in cockpits. Some of them will sit at desks. And the aircraft they fly will land themselves on moving decks in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It started on a Tuesday morning in Illinois. 2 hours. No one on board. This is Elevon.